Today I want to talk to you. Today I want to talk to you about the CF64V by Turin grinders. We're going to be talking about if this is truly one of the best dosing coffee grinders that you can get for both pour over and espresso. There's a lot of grinders out here now, and it's very, very difficult to pinpoint and choose which one is worthy of purchasing. And I feel like I have a pretty great idea and a wide range of opinions just because I've used a lot of grinders, including the flagship Weber Workshops EG1 coming in at $4,000, and I've used this side by side with that. So today we're going to be diving in to the Turin CF64V. So Turin's been around in the coffee grinder world for probably about 5 years now, and they kind of blew the waters out of what you can get for a single dosing grinder for price. This is using 64 millimeter flat burrs, the same burrs that are used in the DF64, the DF64V, same size of burrs for that matter, or the Option O P64. So there's a lot of different grinders that house 64 millimeter burrs, and this is a really, really good value when it comes to it. So this grinder comes in about $4.99, give or take on that. It comes in a few different colors. It's flat burr, which means that there's two flat circular burrs that sit on top of each other. They're actually in a horizontal pattern, so they go up like this on it. And they are slightly different from like Baratza Encore, which is going to be a conical burr, which is going to be kind of cone-shaped when it comes to it. So this thing has a lot of features when it comes to it. Sorry I don't have it with me. I need to start doing these videos a little bit before I get rid of the grinders. But this has a single dosing hopper, which means you grind by weighing out your beans beforehand, throwing it in the hopper, and grinding. So it has a little funnel to kind of help guide the beans in there. It has some bellows on there to press out the grounds beforehand. It shoots straight into a dosing cup. It's a nice aluminum style dosing cup, or you can grind directly into the portafilter forks. It also has a knocker on the side of it to knock out the grounds, and you can adjust the RPM of it, so you can adjust how fast the motor and the burrs spin on the grinder. Inside of this houses 64 millimeter DLC coated flat burrs, and I really find these to be very, very good, and they have the opportunity to be upgraded to things like the SSP burrs as well, which is going to be like another $185 add-on that you can kind of do and tailor make your espresso more to kind of what you want down the road. So there's a lot of options and a lot of flexibilities when it comes to it. This is very similar to a lot of other grinders. The dial indicators on the front, it can do anywhere between pour over, very coarse to very fine for espresso, and everywhere in between as well. And the variable RPM is super nice because you can kind of drop it down to a slower RPM, which is going to give you less fines for a pour over and a little bit cleaner on the inside. It also has a plasma generator too to help prevent the static on it. However, I do find that you really do need to use the RDT, which is spraying a spritz of water on it before you grind, and it will help kind of reduce the static. So the grind quality is extremely consistent. You get a beautiful balance of clarity and texture in it, and it's honestly really kind of close to what I've been getting out of the Weber Workshops EG1 at just a fraction of the cost. Again, this is at $500 versus $4,500 for the Weber Workshops EG1. There's a difference in there, but it's very marginal at best. Most people can't really taste the difference between an expensive grinder and a cheap grinder, cheaper grinder in the sense of a CF64V and anywhere in between it. Like I said earlier, this is kind of a mess when you do grind if you don't do RDT, because a lot of things spray and there's a lot of static. So you really want to spray your beans in order to kind of keep your workflow and your coffee bar a little bit cleaner. Retention is pretty minimal on the inside. That has the knocker on the outside of it, which does help it quite a bit. It's a little louder than I expected it to be. It kind of has a higher pitched ring to it. However, it does grind fairly quickly, so you don't have to worry about it too much. It's a really good grinder. It's absolutely worth the price point that it comes in at. There is at $500, you really can't beat this grinder. You really can't beat the quality that comes out of it. However, a couple of things I don't like about it is I find it really kind of hard to read the dial indicator. The dial indicator sits on the front of it to give you the grind size of it, and I really like the setup more on the DF64 Gen 2 because it has the dial more on the top, which you're typically looking down at your grinder, not straight into it, so it makes it a little bit better. I find when I've been using this grinder, I really don't care about the RPM. I will drop it all the way down to the lowest setting for pour over and all the way to the top for espresso. I get great results at that, but I don't really play around with the RPM at all when it comes to pulling a shot of espresso or a pour over. It's just one of those two. So that being said, I really don't see the benefit of having a variable RPM grinder outside of that what I just mentioned. Somebody can fight me on that. Let me know in the comments below what you think is really the benefit of it. I personally find less is more on it, and I actually prefer the setup of the DF64 a little bit better. One of the reasons for that is it doesn't have the knocker, and the knocker is kind of hard to get to on the side if it's next to coffee equipment. There's also two power buttons on this. There's one on the left side of the grinder and one on the right. So it's a switch on the right side by the variable RPM dial and a button on the left side. I don't really find the need for both of those. Just give me one. It would be a lot better. However, that being said, it is still a very, very great grinder. I'm not complaining too much on it, just kind of pointing out some of the things that I wish they would have done differently. It gives a very, very good grind. You get a lot for $500. It's really a no-brainer to pick up this grinder, but if I were going to buy one out, I would honestly probably save $100, and I would get the DF64 Gen 2.5, I think is what they're on now, just because of where the dial indicator is sitting on top. It's just a little easier to read, a little bit easier to use, but other than that, this really is a good grinder. It pairs well against grinders in the $4,000 range, in my opinion. Of course, you're going to get better results in the more expensive grinders, but it's really not worth it in the grand schemes of it, in my opinion, to spend that extra money. I have been very, very content with just having this grinder on my bar. This is the only electric grinder that I really plan on having. I have a different grinder that I use on a regular basis, but this is a nice electric grinder to have as a backup for that, and more on that on another video. But this is really, really a good grinder, and I really do think Turin makes the best single dosing grinders. I'm going to put that there. And what I mean by the best is it might not be the best quality, but it's really, really hard when it comes to value for money to beat out these Turin grinders because they're just so good. Now, granted, I haven't used some of the more newer grinders on the market, like the Time War ones. Maybe that'll come down the road. We'll see. But the Turin is really, really a great value for that money, and I haven't regretted any single Turin grinder that I've used since I've started this journey with Turin over 5 years ago. Granted, I do want to say Turin did send me this grinder for free. I would still choose the DF64 over it, but it's a great grinder, and they don't see this video. They don't pay me for this or anything like that. But Turin's a great grinder. So if you like this video, like and subscribe. If you have any questions that I didn't cover on the CF64V, let me know in the comments below. And if you have one, let me know your thoughts on it too. And let me know how you use that variable RPM on whatever grinder you have. And I would love to hear how you think it's worth it for your espresso setup in your journey having that variable RPM. Thank you so much for watching.